So, on today's podcast, we're talking about mindsets to help breathe oxygen into your summer. What mindsets can bring fuel to your summer and the days ahead?
Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat podcast, wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today. Welcome in. So glad you are here. We are in season 8, well over 230 episodes of this podcast. Hard to believe, but thank you to everybody out there. Thank you to all the listeners, all the new listeners, all the folks that have been around since the very beginning. My hope is that you will continue to go back, check out old episodes that we have. So many great topics, so many great thought leaders have joined me in conversation on this pod. So many different ways, I think, to re-engage your mind and your thinking around your life, your work, and the temperature that you're trying to set in both of those. So my promise to you, as always, is that this will be a place for you to step back, for you to think, hopefully for some good oxygen to be breathed into you so that you can, again, think about that temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. So before we dive into today's topic, though, I hope you will do me the quick favor and rate the podcast 5 stars. Of course, you know what to do on that. Any platform that you're on, hit 5 stars. Leave an authentic review in your own words. That's really important. That really is helpful to the algorithms. And then, of course, every time you share the podcast on social media, if there's a topic or an episode that you're like, man, that really resonated, I need to share this with my team at work, my colleagues, or your network. Hey, share it. What connected with you about this topic, and talk about it. So those are all the ways in which this podcast spreads and the messages get amplified. And for everybody who takes a moment to do that, I am very, very grateful. So thank you so much. So we are entering the summer season, which at this time I'm always asked about, summer reading, and people are always wondering, what are they going to read at the beach or on their vacation or just sitting at the pool throughout the summer. And of course, I will reference some of the books that I am reading right now. I'm reading Unreasonable Hospitality, if you want to look into that, Unreasonable Hospitality. The Anticipatory Organization is another one that I'm reading right now, and a couple others. But there are lots of great things that are happening. I look forward to. I always get excited about reading in the summer. I tend to be able to slow down a little bit more and to take some time to really study and read. So today's episode, my hope is to be talking about kind of breathing oxygen into you and thinking about the ways in which you use your summer. And I'm going to use my latest book, Breathing Oxygen, to talk about this idea and to really introduce this and really a hope for you for the summer that is ahead of you. My hope is that you are intentional about the time that you're going to spend and that you're thoughtful about the mindsets and the things that are breathing good oxygen into you, to your family, to your life, to your work. And because we know there are oxygen givers, there are people that are oxygen givers, and we also know that there are oxygen takers. And so, we know this, that our brains that use about 25% of the oxygen we take in to fuel our organs, to fuel our basic functions. And any lack of oxygen, like literal oxygen, stunts our abilities to think, to move, and to make decisions. And so literally oxygen, breathing in and taking time to actually breathe good oxygen is vital for our basic functions. But we also know fueling our minds with not only literal oxygen, but oxygen and mindsets and ways of thinking and focusing on things that bring out the best in us, bring out more in us and give us fuel for our life and our work. So another statistic I'll just throw out there, the National Science Foundation, that says that humans every single day have anywhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts. 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts in an average day. So I'll let you decide which end of the spectrum you fall on. Is it just the 12,000 or is it the 60,000? But on average, humans have anywhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts in an average day. And 80% of those thoughts, through this study by the National Science Foundation, say that those 80% of the thoughts are identified as negative thoughts. 80% of those are negative, and 95% of them are repetitive. So what does this do to our worldview, to our perspective, to our mood, to the way we function when our minds are cluttered with so much negative talk, so many negative thoughts, so many repetitive thoughts, and what I would call toxic air? And then you add to that the realities that so many people have been facing over the last few years, extreme economic and political uncertainty, certainly coming out of the global pandemic. We've had wars, in Ukraine and the Middle East, social justice issues, remote work, mental health issues have been up, divorces have been up, substance abuse has been up, all of these things that there's been so much swirling over the last few years that, again, the best leaders, teams, and organizations are very thoughtful about what is the oxygen that we are giving ourselves. We need good air to breathe so that we can navigate our way through the fog. So, on today's podcast, we're talking about mindsets to help breathe oxygen into your summer. What mindsets can bring fuel to your summer and the days ahead? But before we dive into today's topic, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
So again, today we're talking about entering our summer with a mindset of how can I breathe good oxygen into ourselves, into the people around me, and being intentional about the way we spend our time. And we know that we all need good air to breathe so that we can navigate our way through all the things that are swirling. I shared the statistic again that humans have anywhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts in an average day, and 80% of them are identified as negative, and 95% of them are repetitive. And we also know the challenges that so many people have been facing over the last few years, that it just becomes even more important to think about what are the thoughts, what are the stories, what are the mindsets, what are the ways in which we are focusing our thoughts on things that bring out the best in us and don't pull us into negative places. So we know that some people, just humans in general, but also in organizational settings, we know that many teams can get pulled into breathing very toxic air. They can get pulled into just a perpetuation of breathing this kind of negativity around or gossip. Many places, walking out of meetings and on, all the chat functions and hanging around the water coolers or whatever that may be in an organization, the gossip, the blame, it's easy for people and teams and organizations to get pulled into kind of breathing what I would refer to as just kind of this toxic air. And yet what's so interesting is when you walk into, and I'm fortunate certainly to be somebody who walks into many teams and organizations that are very intentional about the cultures they're trying to create and are about trying to bring out the best in their people and trying to help their organization to continue to be better in performance and better in service to others. And so you see in those kind of environments that other people and other teams and other organizations choose to breathe in other ways of thinking. And it doesn't mean they're perfect, doesn't mean they don't get pulled into negativity or gossip or blame every once in a while. But when they start to notice them doing that, they tend to bring their mind back to gratitude. They tend to bring their mindset back to being solutions-focused instead of focusing on the negativity. They tend to be, how can we feed each other with positivity, which isn't blindly just saying, let's pretend the challenges aren't there. It's actually naming the challenges and being optimistic about the future and saying we together can go find solutions. And they become very aware of what fuels their energy in positive ways. And so, again, in those 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that tend to lean negative and repetitive, how can we be even more intentional about swaying them into more positive thinking, more grateful thinking, more solutions-focused thinking? And in that, our performance goes up. So stop for a second and step back and breathe for a second, even while you're listening to this. And as you do that, I bet you're aware in your own life of the factors, the conditions, the people, the situations, the activities that breathe good oxygen into you and give you positive energy. I bet if you think about it, if you step back and you think about it, you can identify the people or the situations or the conditions or the activities in your life and your work that kind of breathe good oxygen into you and bring out the very best in your energy. And then you also are probably able to identify the ones that kind of steal your oxygen, the people or the situations, the conditions, activities that, routines that kind of drain you. And first and foremost, are we even aware of what brings out the best in us and what tends to drain us? And you've heard me on this podcast many different times talk about emotional intelligence. In fact, I've done a whole series on emotional intelligence and the different layers of emotional intelligence. So if you didn't hear those, go back or just search up Jason Barger Emotional Intelligence, and you'll find all the episodes I've done. But really great stuff of diving into this. And we know from studying emotional intelligence that the first step is recognition and understanding yourself. And it's that awareness of yourself, and then being able to use this awareness to create habits that influence our behavioral response. And so calibrating our own thermostat and then breathing life into it every day and day after day is to set the temperature that we want and breathe the way that brings out the very best in us. So a few mindsets that as I think about, and I think about for myself as well as I enter the summer months, which I know oftentimes brings a lot of excitement, longer days and better weather and people out and about and vacations and joy and, all of it that summer, brings to our minds. I know it also creates that there's a lot happening and schedules and a lot of juggling of things. And so it's always helpful for me to think about how do I want to be intentional about my summer and what is it that I'm trying to do, not just in the summer, year round, but certainly in the summer to breathe good oxygen into myself. So a couple of reminders that to myself and to you, the listener, is to carve out time to breathe, which may sound simple. Again, breathing is something that we do Fortunately, automatically our breathing is as I'm sitting here talking, my body is breathing without me telling it to do. But it's also something that we have the ability to be very intentional about taking deeper breaths and stopping ourselves and bringing our intention and our mind back to where we want it to. So for me, carving out time to breathe, carving out time each day to kind of step back from my normal routines. Oftentimes summer is a great time to kind of get out of maybe typical routines or winter routines and really enter into breaking some of those patterns. Breathe into gratitude for where you are and who you are and all that is around you, and allow your mind and your body and your spirit to rest. Allow it to rest and recharge. And carve out time to connect. So I want to carve out time to breathe, but I also want to carve out time. Again, all of these things are year-round, but in the summer, to even be more intentional about how do I carve out time to connect and to breathe in awareness of the people in my life that give life to me. And summer is often a time, again, where we're outside more, where there's more activities, there's more things happening. And so a great opportunity to connect with the people who give you life, who breathe good oxygen into you. And so who are the people who bring out the best in you? Who are those people? Maybe old friends, people that have been around in your life or part of your career for a long time that really bring out the best in you. And also maybe who are those new people, those new faces and new folks that have entered your life and your work, and maybe you have an opportunity to kind of connect in those relationships and bring out again the most of you in your life and your work. But to be intentional about carving out time to truly connect with them. So carving out time to breathe, carving out time to connect with the people that do bring out the best in you. And then I always try in the summer in particular is to try to carve out a little time to vision, and give some oxygen, breathe in some moments to vision a future that I want to be a part of creating. What excites me about the future? What would bring me joy in the future? What is compelling about the intentional path that I want to walk in my life and my work? And what do I see? And what do I maybe need to let go of? And what is it that I want to pursue more of? And to take some time to not only breathe and not only connect, but take some time to vision and see things from a different angle of vision. Summer's a time to recharge. It's a time to play, to find joy, to see things differently, and a time to step back and get away for greater perspective. And with that, the invitation to you and to me, by the way, and to myself, is to breathe in good oxygen. And so some questions to help you ponder along the way. What habit, activity, practice would help breathe good oxygen into you to fuel you this summer? What air do you hope to breathe? And then what is the toxic or unhealthy situations or maybe people or negativity that you want to get away from this summer? So I hope those questions get you thinking and give you some time to begin to enter into your summer intentionally. I hope you take some time to breathe in appreciation and gratitude for all that is within our control, within your control. And now is a chance to say, what is it that we want to breathe good oxygen into? If you haven't read my book, Breathing Oxygen, yet, I invite that to be on your summer read list. I hope it will be there. And Breathing Oxygen you can find at all the places online and anywhere you get books. Just type in Breathing Oxygen and Jason Barger and you will find it. So my hope is that this, even today's episode and all the episodes, allows you to calibrate your own personal thermostat, to think about your own intentionality, your own awareness as a leader, as a human, as somebody who's a part of the culture that you're trying to create with the people around you in your life and your work. And to be able to think about and remind ourselves that we are thermostats. We are thermostats for that culture that we're trying to create into the future. But we know we're going to have to continue to breathe good oxygen into ourselves and into the people around us in order to create it. So I hope you'll keep tuning in into the future. I hope you'll go back and listen to old episodes that again, are great topics to dive back into. And I hope if you have any ideas of future topics or ways in which we can be more helpful to you and your team and your work, I hope you'll reach out to us, info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com via email, and we'll continue to create content and connect with you to help meet you where you are. Remember, the best leaders, teams, and cultures on the planet stimulate progress by recalibrating their thermostat together. So step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.